1940s, Aurel Stein commenced what would become one of the most illustrious expeditions of his career. The Hungarian British archaeologist undertook the task of recording, documenting, and investigating mounds, which in local terms is known as theres or thaid. Over three stages, he covered the distance from Haryana all the way to Sindh and reported over 97 archaeological sites on both sides of the dry bed of Ghaggar Hakra, from Hanumangarh in Rajasthan all the way to Bhavalpur, which is now in Pakistan's Punjab province. Although the majority of expedition data remain unpublished in the case of Orelstein, as he died subsequently after this very last survey in 1940, Stein's final expedition along the bank of Ghaggar paved the way for future research. The first archaeologist of independent India in post 1947 partition, Amalanda Ghosh followed the footsteps of Oral Stein, and he sort of took forward the work which Oral Stein had started in 1940s. And eventually that work was carried forward by various other scholars, including Dr. K.T. Frenchman Dalal and Professor Dr. B.B. Lal or B.K. Thapar, who have excavated Kalibangan in 1960s. This sort of demonstrates the truths that the research is ongoing process, and that with every step, and especially with every exploration, every field survey, every village to village survey, we come closer to the bigger picture, we come closer to the truth. Therefore, despite many lacunas in Stein's study, it is important therefore to revisit what exactly how he began his career and how he contributed to archaeological research of the Indian subcontinent. He was born in on 26th November in 1862 into a Jewish family in Budapest. Stein was always interested as a young lad. He was always interested in Sanskrit, Persian, and other ancient languages, and he actually ended up studying both Sanskrit and Persian. After he received his PhD in 1883, he conducted research in ancient Persia. So the Persian literature, the archaeology really appealed to him when he was at Oxford and also at Cambridge. He was always fascinated with Alexander the Great's conquest, his expedition, and he wanted to sort of go to each and every site area that is mentioned in the records that are linked to the Alexander's conquest. It basically sort of inspired him to go into the field. And when he arrived in India in 1887 and joined the Punjab University as a registrar, his dream sort of started to take shape, because now he was finally in the subcontinent. And you need to remember, by then the Punjab was the undivided or Sanja Punjab, so he was able to sort of dwell into the art, architecture, and try to find out the various the inspiration in the art, architecture, tried, and he was able to get access to a lot of records which were not available to him, could able to sort of translate a lot of Sanskrit records and a lot of Persian records as well. So, in between his administrative duties when he was at the Punjab universities, during his holidays, during his breaks, he would sort of go to museums, he would go to sites, he made friends with very affluent people, where he was able to see the sculptures, the Gandhara sculptures. He was able to appreciate the Western influence and sort of understand the archaeology, the art, and the history of India. After conducting many fieldwork in between his administrative service, his work at Punjab University, he concluded that the research position was most suitable to him. He was not happy with holding any big administrative place. He would rather be on field exploring place to place, mounds to mounds, and that is what he wanted to do. But it wasn't easy for him because he was part of the administrative system, and he continued to do so till very later end of his career, mid of his career, where he actually found the job that he loved the most. But between that, during his various field surveys, he gained the knowledge of what the archaeology, what the history of the subcontinent was all about. And in 1889, his knowledge, his experience, his interest, his love and passion for field work really amazed Lord Curzon, who by then was trying to reinvent, redefine archaeological the archaeological work in India. He wanted to do a lot more, and in that sort of scheme, Oral Stein really fitted well, and even Curzon sort of spoke about the bright young Stein and his passion in his records, and he really appreciated it. When Oral Stein in 1899 met Lord Curzon, he told Curzon about his interest in taking an expedition in Central Asia to cover the Silk Route, and sort of following his early dream as a young boy when he was still at Oxford and Cambridge, and even before that he sort of it was the time now in 1890s and early 1900s, really the turn of the century, where he was then finally able to undertake the expedition in Central Asia, which was sort of on the borderlands as well as on the Cotton, which he called as a Cotton project. This was sort of beginning of Orlstein's career, and the Silk Road expedition or Central Asian expedition was one of the most important expeditions of Stein's career. During this expedition, Stein ventured into the Xinjiang region of China, and he surveyed the arid stretch, and which largely remained unexplored by the Western scholars at that time. His goal was simple. He basically followed the Silk Road, and uncovered the remnants that once were part of a flourishing civilization in that very region. Apart from that, another most important or significant findings of this expedition which Stein has undertaken was in Dunyang Caves, which is also known as Mogao Cave, which is a network of Buddhist caves and temples which contains about thousands of ancient manuscripts, painting, and sculptures. These caves were hidden in the Gobi Desert for centuries, revealed a very rich collection of early Buddhist caves, and many written in different languages such as Sanskrit and Tibetan. So these manuscripts really provided a valuable insight into the spread of Buddhism along the Silk Road and its cultural impact in all across Central Asia. This discovery sort of established Stein as a seasoned explorer, and it really gave him a reputation of somebody who can explore largely unexplored regions, and sort of establish a reputation for Stein, which was a very positive step into his career. By 1903, Stein not only conducted multiple expeditions, but also sort of moved to the rank of university registrar in Punjab University to Inspector General of Education and the Archaeological Surveyor of Northwestern Frontier province and Balochistan. He early on wished to secure a place for himself, a position for himself in India, which would leave him with the freedom to sort of explore, dwell into the scholarly work, into scholars, so that he can have some research objectives, and sort of keep him away from administrative duties of the university job in Lahore. He said that in one of his diaries that he would be delighted to stay in any country of my interest. And by 1903, after his Central Asian expedition, he finally got the position and the freedom, and that thing he embraced till the very end. Although the survey of Central Asia, as I've mentioned, is one of the most renowned surveys of Stein, he's celebrated, and there are multiple books written on this very on the expedition. These are very well recorded expeditions. He also actually explored the modern day India, paths from Jammu to Kashmir to West Bengal. he explored different regions of India. With each project, he sort of added another layer of understanding. He added another feather in his cap, and left a very celebrated legacy. During his, visit, his work in Kashmir, apart from the Central Asian expedition, the work in Kashmir that he has undertaken is also one of the most celebrated and less stalked work by Aurel Stein. Raj Tarangini, which is one of the most important Sanskrit texts on the history of Kashmir, really drew attention of various scholars from H.H. Wilson and others who really was attempting to find the original text, the genuine manuscript. But it was actually Stein who was able to locate the complete original text and prepare his critical edition in 1892 and complete its English translation in 1900. During this time, he also prepared a complete catalog of Sanskrit manuscript in the Raghunathan Library, which really helped later scholars to understand that region better and the history of that region in a better way. Apart from that, he also explored salt ranges, Swat, southern Bihar, Hazaribagh, Baluchistan, Indus Basin. He also investigated a very important early Harappan site, which is Nal. And then the Director General of Archaeological Survey of India, uh, John Marshall's instance, he also investigated Nal further. He explored it extensively and gave the report back to John Marshall. Now, as we moving into the timeline of Cunningham of Stein, you understand that various other important players in the history of archaeology in India enters. You have Marshall, you had first Curzon, then you have Marshall, who've asked Stein to explore Nile, and eventually it was later, and he kept working, he kept exploring these regions, and as he was the archaeological inspector or attached to ASI. Now, this from 1880s to all the way to 1900s, his Circulation expedition, all the way 40 years later, 1940, he undertook his last expedition, which was on the bank of Ghaggar. He recorded about 97 sites, which included the Bhadrakali temple site, which is protected by ASI. He spoke of sites like Munda, he spoke sites like Devar, which are very important sites and were recorded by later explorers and researchers as well. He also undertook trial trenches a few sites. He basically was trying to understand the cultural sequence of the Ghaggar Hakra region. He was trying to understand where is the earliest culture, what is the earliest culture, and how it evolves and changes. The only thing that was missing from his survey, the only thing that lacked, of course, it is the survey was not published. He died before he could even do that. Was that he was unable to detect any Harappan presence in that region. He did find Harappan pottery, but he was not able to understand, and he labeled them as the early historic or later period pottery. That task was sort of completed by Ghosh. So as I mentioned in the beginning, this is how the research works. Stein did record 97 sites, but he was not able to understand the earliest level, the earliest sequence, the earliest period, earliest culture in that river basin. That work was done by first A. Ghosh, who was able to properly give this culture, this region, and fit it in a time frame, give it various, put forth, take the research forward. It was also the similar work was done by K.T. Dalal, who then explored, excavated a few sites, and took the work done by Ghosh even a step further. So as I've mentioned, this is how the work of an archaeologist is. This is how research sort of goes. Aurel Stein's contribution to archaeology were nothing short of transformative. He started as a registrar. He moved through the ranks. He worked between his administrative services, and he explored. His passion and love was never ending. Really was. one of the most important findings happened during his by him, and all because of the passion that he had within him. And lastly, his final survey was equally very important and very highly treasured. In fact, for me, I worked in Ghaggar region for over 7 years, and for me, Stein's work still stands out. His description of the sites, description of the pottery, his understanding of the region, even trying to understand how the river uh, sort of worked, how the river valley and the river and the settlement sort of had a very important relationship. He could able to understand all these things despite any technology available to him. He only undertook basic survey, but a very good and a thorough survey at that. His findings shaped the course of archaeology in the region, but also sort of bridged the cultural divide, sparking a deeper connection between East and West. Therefore, it's always important when we look at the history of archaeology in India, or we even try to look at archaeological uh, investigations in the region. It's very important to look at these great figures, who really steered the direction, and who took in an archaeology in a good in a direction which really took it forward in terms of research, and helped us understand our region better, our history better. So with that, I will leave you with these parting thoughts, that research takes time, and with every work done by each individual adds another layer, and nothing is ever sudden. So if you hear in news that a new discovery is made, remember that the work will take time. It's like it be seasoned, and then slowly and steadily you will get the bigger picture, you'll understand it better. Thank you so much for listening to me. And if you want to read the column I've written on Aurel Stein, or any other column, follow the link in the description box below. And if you enjoy such videos, do follow Print on YouTube, and also follow it on all social media platform. And we'll be back with such interesting stories of archaeology and history of archaeology in India, and also our heritage soon. Thank you so much.